Welcome to Soapbox After Dark. This is me essentially playing catch up on a few stories that I wanted to get to that I didn't get the chance to get to, and so I'm here at 2 in the morning, wide awake, doing the news. So the story. I was trying to go through the Cohen hearings. Those things are 7 hours long. I'm going to do a video on various parts of the hearings. I'm going to go through the Aaron Matei stuff, but again, I got to get to it. This was one of the stories that was, let's say I could get to tonight without having to spend 7 hours going into the story. When the Democratic Party took over the House leadership, you had a lot of people, especially, let's say Ocasio-Cortez, pushing for a Green New Deal, but this added a certain energy in the party where various sections of the party wanted to push for legislation dealing with the issue of climate change. They didn't want to shy away from it. They wanted to deal with the issue to the degree that you could deal with it. I mean, after all, this is an issue that deals with the entire globe, not just one nation. But it's somewhat of a worthy pursuit of, the very least, realizing that what we're doing are adversely affecting life on this planet and we need to do something about it. So, in an effort, I would imagine, to show the public that they're Johnny on the spot on this issue, that they're paying attention to this issue, and that they want to do something about this issue, that they care about this issue. Climate change is a big deal. We need to do something about it. The world is at stake. There's an asteroid that's about to hit the planet. We need to hold hearings. All right, fair enough. So the Democratic Party decides to hold hearings. In one of the hearings that is taking place, even though the Democrats have the majority, some of them decided that this wasn't important enough for them to show up. And so those Democrats decided not to show up. So whereas the Democratic Party called a hearing on climate change, there are going to be several this month, but they called a hearing on climate change, because many of them didn't find this to be important enough to show up, the Republican Party ends up with the majority. What does the Republican Party do? This is Louis Gohmert. Now, I think I've said in the past, and I still take this perspective, that I think Louis Gohmert is probably one of the dumbest people on the planet. I don't like holding that perspective of anybody because it makes me feel bad inside to say bad things about people. But I've seen footage of Louis Gohmert say things on more than one occasion, and those things have not necessarily, or at the very least, have been horrifying. In one particular case, Gohmert makes the argument, today actually, that, okay, not today, but he's claimed that climate change is a hoax. And how does he know it's a hoax? I always ask this question of, if the scientists are saying this, meaning if the people who are studying this, who are doing research into this very specific issue, if those people who are doing research into this, who are studying this, say, our planet is warming, and we have several years to get our house in order, or this is going to be catastrophic for life on this planet. It is a global catastrophe that we're talking about. It's not climate change, it's climate catastrophe. Let's name it what it is. If they're saying that, where are you getting what you're getting? Meaning, how are you coming to your conclusion if the people who are studying it are coming with a completely and radically different conclusion? And this is not spirituality. This is not, what is the concept of reality and that type of stuff. Stuff that, is almost impossible to know on a real level, meaning knowing the entire point. Fair enough. This is not a religious thing. This is a scientific consensus to some degree, to the tune of over 90%. But you're telling me that you've come to your conclusion because Vikings or temperatures warmed during the Viking period. And because temperatures warmed in the Viking period, that disproves all of the scientists and all of the science that's saying you're wrong. This is Gohmert. So understand where I'm coming from when I say this. I've seen him on other occasions, on this very specific occasion, these are the things that he has said. Gohmert takes the reins of the meeting. Gohmert says, I want to be very specific. Gohmert says, but Republican Louis Gohmert, a staunch conservative who has claimed warm temperatures during the Viking era disproves climate change science, took issue with the notion that the topic was within the panel's jurisdiction. He quickly motioned to adjourn the hearing before the witnesses could even deliver their opening statements. The motion quickly passed with the 4 Republicans present outvoting the 2 Democrats in the room, including Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee Chairman T.J. Cox. Oh, how emasculating with that. How emasculating. That is, God, that's politically emasculating. You hold the majority. Your party won all of those seats. Your party wanted to call those meetings on climate change because you wanted to get across that this is a major issue that we need to do something about. And in coming to the meeting, your party comes up short. Party comes up short. Do you believe it or not? Do you care about it or not? You guys are talking about climate change. You put up a candidate who was passing fracking all through the planet, all through the world. The last guy who was in that office was expanding oil production, whether he was doing it for militaristic reasons or whether he was doing it to try to get a certain level of security on this very specific front. It's up to you, but I'm just making the point that climate change and issues revolving around climate change has not necessarily been a high priority for the Democratic Party. And in this case, you kind of get that across again, even after the new Congress comes in. You call a meeting and you're completely emasculated by the Republican in the room that just closes the meeting that you've called. Amazing. Cox, the most vulgar name in Congress, continues with the meeting even though the meeting has no force. It's completely impotent at that point. He's, dry rubbing a wall or something for all intents and purposes. It's right here. This is Gomer. This is the 7th oversight hearing related to climate change that the majority is holding this month. Starting with a full committee hearing, Gomer said in an opening statement before calling for adjournment. These matters are also clearly outside the jurisdiction of the Committee on Natural Resources and its subcommittee per the rules of the U.S. House of Representatives, he added. As Republicans exited the room, Cox quickly pivoted and shifted the proceedings to a Democratic-led forum, a gathering that allows the witnesses to speak but lacks the weight of an official committee hearing. Neutered. Balls in a jar. Not because the Republicans have any particular majority. Democrats won the majority in the House. But because they couldn't even be bothered to show up, to go down there, to make the vote. Do you believe in climate change or not? Is it a big deal or not? Are these hearings just for show, or are they for something legit? The other interesting point to this, where is it? This hearing was supposed to be about the denial playbook. Essentially, climate change is a hoax. We don't know if climate change is real. Yes, the temperature may be going up, but human beings don't have anything to do with it. I mean, there's questions of the science. This type of stuff. The playbook that cigarette companies used when they were trying to obfuscate whether or not cigarettes cause cancer. Doctors said yes, the cigarette company played a playbook that denied for as long as they possibly could in order to keep their product on the shelves, causing cancer. The oil companies, same thing. Climate change, from the standpoint of saying, we question the science, and at the point where it became a political issue, then at that point, sides reflexively took something as politics that was outright science. Now, they took this as a political thing because the reality of it, of taking it as a science thing, forces a certain change in the way that you go about your behavior. If you say, yes, climate change is real, yes, it is catastrophic for life on this planet, but no, we don't want to do anything about it, your position seems utterly absurd. So Republicans take the position of, there's nothing to see here, folks. We can keep on doing the things that we're doing. There's nothing to see here because it's not real. We don't believe it. Deny. Between the two, however, I think Democrats' position is worse. We believe it, but we're not going to do anything real about it. And in this case, the two Democrats couldn't even be bothered to show up to their own goddamn hearing. Louis Gohmert closes the hearing down on climate change that Democrats call, do you believe it, do you care about it, or not? Not showing up to hearing kind of gets across, not. I'll end it here. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. This was utterly and entirely embarrassing. If you're going to call a hearing and the idea that the opposition closes the hearing because your people couldn't bother to show up, that looks horrendous. That looks horrendous. That is completely embarrassing even. Trying to pivot to hold this kind of secondary hearing is, that doesn't make up for the fact that the people didn't show up. I don't understand this thing of not. If you acknowledge that climate change is real and climate change is somewhat of a big deal, And you've decided to take a political tack of attacking your opposition and attacking the position of denialism, bringing in people to go after that and hack that particular position down, because you need to get from point A to point B politically, and exposing the Republicans as hacks on this issue is doing so. Meaning making the position that we're the party that believes in science, that other party doesn't. And because we believe in science, we need to do something substantial on this issue. The other party doesn't. The other party is denying the high priest of this time period, scientists. Why are they denying the high priest of this time period? Look at all the evidence. Look at the cornucopia of evidence. Go outside and feel the heat of a summer day, or for that matter, feel the heat of a winter day. Look at the evidence. These guys are completely ignoring actual real-life evidence from scientists that are investigating this issue. You make your own decision about who you believe, but we're the party that believes in science, and as such, we're doing stuff about it. This hearing is somewhat of a brick in the wall in this particular argument. Not showing up to your own hearing, I'm sorry, it looks embarrassing and utterly ridiculous. There are right-wing sites that carried this story, and they saw this as ridiculous as I saw this, and to some degree gets a chuckle out of the fact that the Democratic Party doesn't even show up for its own hearings. So I'll end this here. This one wasn't meant to be long. It was just a heads up on failure. If you guys enjoyed the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the patron. Yeah, I end this here. Thanks all. I will see you guys probably in the morning.